you've probably never heard of, one who inherited a kingdom that was just moments from completely falling apart. And her greatest weapon? It wasn't some massive army or a vault full of gold. Nope. It was a strategy so quiet, so subtle, that her enemies didn't even see it coming. So let's just start with this question right here. We tend to think that great leaders have to be loud, right? They have to be the ones with the booming voice, the big, bold actions. But what if that's not the whole story? What if the most powerful leadership is actually the kind that whispers? Okay, picture this. The year is 1675. We're in the Sultanate of Aceh in Southeast Asia. This place is a huge deal, a global center for trade, culture, and learning. But all that is hanging by a thread. The kingdom is starting to crack from the inside out, and its entire future is about to land on the shoulders of one new, completely untested queen. So why was this moment so incredibly tense? Well, for over 3 decades, Aceh had been this island of stability. It was prosperous, it was respected, but that long, peaceful era was suddenly over, and the kingdom was staring right into the abyss. 34 years. Just let that sink in. That's how long the previous sultanate had ruled. For a whole generation, she was the only leader they'd ever known, and she'd built this golden age. So when she passed away, it left this massive power vacuum. You can bet everyone was on edge, wondering what would happen next. And into this absolute chaos steps our main character, Sultana Nur al-Alam Naqiatuddin Shah. Now, she was the second woman to rule Aceh, but nobody really saw her coming. She took power at what was, without a doubt, the kingdom's most vulnerable moment. And get this, her reign was super short. We're talking just 3 years. But in that tiny window of time, she made a series of choices that would define the kingdom's fate for generations. It really wasn't about how long she ruled, but about what she did with the time she had. You can just imagine it, right? From the second she sat on that throne, every single eye was on her. The powerful nobles, the influential scholars, the foreign merchants, they were all watching and they were all wondering the same thing. Is she going to be a tyrant? Is she going to rule with an iron fist? Or is she going to try something totally different?
And let me tell you, the pressure was on. Naqiatuddin's kingdom was basically under siege. She had threats coming from powerful European traders on the outside and from schemers and rivals deep inside her own court.
Yeah, she was really fighting a war on 2 fronts. Internally, you had powerful groups arguing that a woman shouldn't rule, some even trying to sabotage her. They literally set a fire at the palace. And externally, you had the Dutch, the Portuguese, and the English all circling like sharks, trying to force her into bad trade deals that would basically hand over the kingdom's wealth.
So how in the world did she deal with all this? This is where things get really interesting. Instead of trying to crush her enemies with force, she came up with this brilliant playbook. It was all about using the law, building consensus, and just strengthening the kingdom from its very foundations. Okay, so to really get her strategy, you have to know about something called the 3 sages. Think of these as 3 super powerful regional councils. They had a ton of political sway and could keep the ruler's power in check. Now, most rulers would see them as a threat, right? Something to be weakened. But Naqiatuddin, she saw them as her greatest strength. Her playbook was basically a 3-step plan. First, instead of just barking orders, she actually talked to the scholars and elites. She made them feel like partners. Second, she doubled down on the kingdom's existing laws, showing everyone that she respected tradition and order. And third, she gave those regional councils, the 3 sages, even more power, making them invested in her success. See what she was doing? She was building a team, not a tyranny. Now, you might look at her reign and think, well, okay, she didn't conquer any new lands or build any giant monuments. And you'd be right, but you'd be missing the entire point. When your kingdom is about to shatter into a million pieces, just holding it together isn't passive. It's a radical, defiant, and incredibly powerful act of resistance.
Just look at the difference here. A typical ruler wants conquest, she wanted stability. They want to build monuments to themselves, she wanted to fortify the law for everyone. They'll sign away anything in a treaty for a quick win. She fought tooth and nail to protect Aceh's independence. Her goals were just different, and they were exactly what the kingdom needed to survive.
And that right there is the heart of her story. It's this idea that real strength doesn't always have to roar. Sometimes it whispers. Her power wasn't flashy or loud. It was the quiet, steady, day in and day out work of holding everything together, and that proved to be stronger than any army. So, what were the results of all this quiet leadership? Well, they were huge. In just 3 years, she kept the all-important trade routes open. She stopped any single foreign power from taking over. She kept the internal conflicts from exploding into a full-blown civil war. She strengthened the law, protected the kingdom's reputation, and most importantly, she saved the kingdom so that future rulers would have something left to rule. So no, her legacy isn't carved into giant stone monuments. It's something much more vital, the very survival of her kingdom. She was the quiet guardian who made sure that the golden thread of Aceh's history and its independence didn't snap under all that pressure. She just held the line. And that brings us all the way back to where we started. Her story really challenges us to look past all the noise and the spectacle in our own world. It makes you ask, right? Who are the quiet guardians today? Who are the leaders, the people in our communities, doing that essential, steady work of just holding things together? The ones we might be overlooking simply because they don't shout? Something to think about.